Guten Morgen, Schüler! Today we are going to learn about German verbs with fixed prepositions. These are verbs that have to be used with certain prepositions. For example, warten means to wait and requires the preposition auf. You need to say, ich warte auf den Bus. I am waiting on the bus. Can't I just leave out the prepositional phrase entirely? Could I say, ich warte, I'm waiting? Well, yes, but what if I'm waiting in a place? Could I say, ich warte im Bahnhof? I'm waiting in the train station? Yes, but what if I'm waiting with someone else? Could I say, ich warte mit meiner Mutter? I'm waiting with my mother? Well, yeah, but in order to say that you are waiting for or on something, you need the preposition auf. So the preposition auf really isn't like a fixed preposition so much as like a commonly used preposition with warten. Maybe I chose a bad example. When using the verb denken, you need to use the preposition an. For example, ich denke an Schokolade. I am thinking of chocolate. What about with the question, was denkst du über die neue Lehrerin? What do you think about the new teacher? Yeah, you can say that too. Some verbs, like denken, have two fixed prepositions. No, they don't! Fixed prepositions are not a thing. Today, I'm going to bust this myth and explain how things really work. Here's the thing. If verbs with fixed prepositions were a thing, why are there certain verbs that take more than one preposition on a regular basis? For example, if you use bestehen with the preposition auf, it translates as to insist on. Er besteht auf organisches Obst. He insists on organic fruit. If you use it with aus, it means to consist of. Diese Serie besteht aus 20 Folgen. This series consists of 20 episodes. But to complicate this matter even more, you can use the verb bestehen in other instances when the preposition used doesn't have anything to do with the verb. For example, es bestehen keine Zweifel an seinen Fähigkeiten. There are no doubts about his skills. When this is done, the verb bestehen translates as to exist. Es besteht eine starke Verbindung zwischen Dampfen und vielen Krankheiten. There is a strong link between vaping and many illnesses. Surely this is an isolated example, right? Absolutely not. I'm sure you were confused when you first learned that there was a phrase sich freuen auf, which means to look forward to, but also the phrase sich freuen über, which means to be pleased with or happy about. Again, we have an instance in which a prepositional phrase has been so commonly used with a certain verb that people think that it's attached to the verb or fixed to that verb. In reality, neither of these prepositions are fixed to the verb freuen. The verb freuen just means to make happy. It's used reflexively, which means that you say things like ich freue mich and freust du dich? This is because the person in those sentences is making themselves happy. When you use the preposition über, it has the same translation it always does, over. Ich freue mich über den Sonnenschein. I am happy about the sunshine. In that sentence, you're saying that you are making yourself happy over the sunshine. Ich freue mich auf das Wochenende. I am looking forward to the weekend. In this sentence, you are casting your happiness in the direction of the weekend. The preposition auf shows this when you use it to throw something as well. Er wirft das Buch auf das Regal. He throws the book onto the shelf. Okay, Herr Allwissend. Dr. Allwissend? Aber das ist ein anderer YouTube-Kanal. Hier ist nur Herr Antrim. Whatever, Smarty Pants. What would you suggest we learn if verbs with fixed prepositions is such a problematic topic? I would recommend learning verbs on their own and then the prepositions that are commonly used with them. Calling them fixed prepositions gives the impression that you have to use these prepositions with these verbs, or that any other preposition is wrong. This severely limits your creativity with the language. Don't think of them as fixed prepositions, but rather, this is how I express that. A common problem amongst language learners is that they try to do one-to-one translations. This causes them to force translations that don't really make sense, or to pigeonhole words to the point that you can't use them to their full potential. If you think that arbeiten has to be used with an, you might have trouble when you're working on the floor on your car. Ich arbeite auf dem Boden, an meinem Auto. I am working on my car, on the ground. If you know that denken means to think, you can separate that from the prepositions an and über and the prefix nach. This makes the following distinction easier. Ich denke an meine Mutter. I am thinking about my mother. Ich denke über den Sommer in Schweden nach. I am reflecting on the summer in Sweden. In the first one, we simply have the verb denken and the preposition an, which generally translates as on, but in a way that means that you are sort of next to something. I think of the prefix nach as after. This means that nachdenken means to think after, as in after the event has taken place. Add in über, and you end up with thinking over something after it has taken place. Even in this stretch of translations, one can see the benefits of learning the words for their actual meanings instead of thinking of this combination of the words means this and that combination of words means that. The bottom line is this: there are certain prepositions in German which are commonly used with certain verbs. Many people call them fixed prepositions, but this leads to confusion when these verbs are used with different prepositions or without a preposition at all. It's helpful to learn that certain verbs and certain prepositions interact in a certain way, but it's just as important to realize that prepositions aren't fixed to the verb in any way. Since I know you need more examples, let's take a look at a few more verb and preposition combinations. The following examples are amusing to me because there are those who will tell you that prepositions an and von can both be used with the verb hängen, but it changes the meaning. If something uses hängen an, it's supposed to mean to attach. If something uses hängen von, it's supposed to mean that it depends on that thing. Unfortunately, the verb hängen just means to hang. You can hang things on walls, you can hang things above you, you can even hang things between other things. This means that you can pretty much use all of the prepositions of place with the verb hängen. To say that one or more of them are fixed to that verb is really going to mess with you when you need to hang a picture on a wall between two other pictures above the desk. Der Junge hängt sich an dieses Mädchen. The boy is attaching himself, or hanging around, this girl. Deine Zukunft hängt von diesem Ergebnis ab. Your future depends upon this result. Das Foto hängt an der Wand. The photo is hanging on the wall. Die Lampe hängt von der Decke. The lamp is hanging from the ceiling. Der Junge hängt das Foto an die Wand zwischen den anderen Fotos über dem Schreibtisch im Büro. The boy is hanging the photo onto the wall between the other photos above the desk in the office. Here's a brain buster: schimpfen mit versus schimpfen über. They are both listed as to complain about somebody. Is my dictionary just trying to mess with me? What is going on here? Well, the verb schimpfen on its own means to rant, offend, or scold. It's basically to talk bad about somebody. If you use it with mit, it means that you are speaking directly with that person while you're talking bad about them. Generally, it's translated as to scold. When you use the preposition über, it means that you are talking about that person, but they are not in the conversation. This is usually translated as to complain about. So what happens when you complain about somebody with somebody else? Ich schimpfe oft über meine Mutter mit meiner Frau. I often complain about my mother with my wife. And now for the bonus round. What's the difference between sich unterscheiden durch and sich unterscheiden in? To me, to differ through and to differ in are basically the same thing. To change the translation from differ to distinguish doesn't really help either, as distinguish just means that they differ. So how do these two verbs differentiate from one another? Sich unterscheiden durch und sich unterscheiden in unterscheiden sich durch die Menschen, die diese Präpositionen benutzen, und in den Regionen, wo man öfter in oder durch sagt. Sich unterscheiden durch and sich unterscheiden in differ through the people who use these prepositions and in the regions where one uses in or durch more often. Oh, and there's also sich unterscheiden von. For example, Pandas unterscheiden sich von anderen Bären durch die Fellfärbung und andere Merkmale. Pandas differ from other bears through the fur color and other features. Now that you know that there's no such thing as a verb with a fixed preposition, I want you to write a sentence or two in the comments below that uses a verb with a preposition other than the one that is traditionally listed as a fixed preposition. Expand your German language flexibility and be entertained by the creativity of others. Das ist alles für heute. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!